Ambassador Kate Miller sat in the cold metal chair and watched the council meeting with tired eyes. The great chamber on Nexus Prime stretched out before her like a giant bowl. Hundreds of alien beings filled the seats in curved rows that went up to the ceiling. Their voices echoed off the walls as they argued about trade routes and mining rights. Kate had been Earth's voice in this place for 8 years. She knew every trick the aliens used to ignore human requests. Today was no different. The Vorthak representative stood at the center podium. His crystal body caught the light and threw rainbow colors across the floor. He spoke in his cold mechanical voice about the new hyperspace routes through the Kepler sector. The Council has reviewed all proposals for the Eastern trade corridors, the Vorthak said. We award exclusive rights to the Zephyrian Commerce Guild. Kate felt her hands tighten on the armrests of her chair. 12 human colonies needed those trade routes. Without them, the settlers would struggle to get basic supplies: food, medicine, building materials. Everything cost 3 times more when ships had to take the long way around Delaney Space. She pressed the button to request speaking time. A small light appeared next to her seat. Kate had learned not to expect much. The council would let her talk for exactly 2 minutes. Then they would vote without really listening to what she said. The Vorthak noticed her light. The human representative wishes to speak. You have 2 minutes. Kate stood up and walked to the small platform reserved for junior members. The platform was lower than the main podium. It made humans look up at the other species when they spoke. Another small insult in a long list of them. Honored council members, Kate began. The human colonies in the Kepler sector desperately need access to these trade routes. Our people are dying because supply ships take too long to reach them. We offer fair payment and promise to maintain the routes properly. A few aliens in the upper seats made clicking sounds. Kate knew this was how they showed they were not interested. The Delaney representative waved a tentacle in the air. The human colonies should have planned better, the aquatic being said. If they cannot survive in remote locations, they should not have settled there. Kate felt anger rise in her chest but kept her voice calm. These colonies provide rare minerals that benefit the entire galaxy. They deserve basic trade access in return. Time expired, the Vorthak announced. The council will now vote on the Zephyrian proposal. The vote was fast and one-sided. Kate sat down and marked another failure in her notes. She had a thick folder full of them. Every human request got the same treatment. Quick dismissal, then the benefits went to older species who had been in the council longer. 3,000 light-years away, Captain Ryan Walsh stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty. His cargo ship carried medical supplies bound for Kepler 442b. A plague had broken out in the mining colony there. Without the medicine in his hold, thousands of people would die in the next 2 weeks. The problem was the route. The fastest path to Kepler 442b went through Delaney Space. Walsh had filed all the proper forms weeks ago. He paid the fees and followed every rule. But this morning, his communications officer brought bad news. Captain, we got a response from Delaney Traffic Control, Lieutenant Amy Foster said. They denied our passage request. Walsh looked at the star chart on his main screen. The red line showed the direct route through Delaney Space. It would take 8 days. The blue line showed the way around their territory. That would take almost a month. Did they give a reason? Walsh asked. They say our cargo manifest shows controlled substances that require special permits. Walsh shook his head. Those are standard medical supplies. We use them on Earth every day. I know, sir. But the Delaney have their own rules. Walsh tried calling the Delaney Trade Authority directly. After waiting for 2 hours, an official finally answered. The being spoke through a water-filled tank that made his voice sound bubbly. Captain Walsh, your request for emergency passage is denied. The medical supplies you carry could be dangerous in the wrong hands. These are vaccines and antibiotics, Walsh said. People are dying while we waste time with paperwork. The Delaney official made a sound like water going down a drain. Walsh realized the alien was laughing. Captain, the loss of a few thousand humans is statistically insignificant. The safety of our trade routes is more important. The connection ended. Walsh stared at the blank screen for a long moment. Lieutenant Foster cleared her throat. Orders, sir? Set course for the long route, Walsh said quietly, and send a message to Earth Command. Tell them what the Delani said about human lives being insignificant. Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Chen worked late in her laboratory. For 3 years, her team had developed a breakthrough in quantum communications technology. The new system could send messages instantly across the galaxy. No more waiting weeks for replies from distant colonies. Lisa was putting the final touches on the research paper when her assistant burst through the door. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this," Kevin Brooks said. He held up a data pad with the latest issue of the Galactic Science Journal. Lisa took the pad and read the headline. Her heart sank. Vorthak Science Consortium announces revolutionary quantum communication breakthrough. She scrolled through the article. Every detail matched her research. The formulas, the test results, even the specific wording she had used in her notes. Someone had stolen 3 years of work and published it under Vorthak names. How did they get this? Lisa asked. Kevin pulled up security footage on his tablet. Remember when the Vorthak delegation visited last month? They said they wanted to see human research facilities. The video showed the crystal beings walking through Lisa's lab. One of them had stopped at her computer terminal while she explained their work to the group leader. In the video, Lisa could see the alien's hand moving over the keyboard when no one was looking. They copied everything, Kevin said. Now they own the patents. We get nothing. Lisa sat down hard in her chair. The quantum communicator could change everything for human colonies. Families separated by thousands of light years could talk every day. Trade negotiations could happen in real time. Emergency calls for help would reach Earth immediately instead of weeks later. Now the Vorthak would control the technology and charge whatever they wanted for it. Humans would have to pay alien prices to use their own invention. In Washington, D.C., President Jack Morrison finished reading the reports from Kate Miller, Captain Walsh, and Dr. Chen. 3 separate incidents in 1 week. Each one showed the same pattern. Humans did the work, provided the resources, and took the risks. Aliens got the benefits and treated human lives like they did not matter. Morrison called an emergency meeting of the Earth Defense Council. Within hours, military leaders and government officials filled the secure conference room, deep under the White House. Admiral Susan Wright sat at the president's right hand. Her weathered face showed no emotion as Morrison read the reports aloud. "How long has this been going on?" asked Secretary of Defense Tom Riley. "Since we joined the Council 37 years ago," Morrison replied. "We thought things would get better as we proved ourselves. Instead, they got worse." Admiral Wright spoke for the first time. "Mr. President, our people are losing faith in the Galactic Alliance. Colony governors report growing anger about trade restrictions. Our military officers complain that alien commanders treat them like servants." Morrison nodded. "I have read similar reports from every human world. The question is what we do about it." "We could file formal complaints," suggested Attorney General Helen Park. "Demand better treatment through official channels." "We have tried that for decades," Morrison said. "The result is always the same. They listen politely, then ignore everything we say." Admiral Wright leaned forward. "There is another option, Mr. President. We could implement the silent protocol." The Q room went quiet. Everyone knew about the silent protocol, but no one had ever seriously considered using it. The plan was simple and extreme. Humans would cut all contact with alien governments. No trade, no diplomacy, no military cooperation. Complete isolation until the galaxy learned to respect Earth. The economic impact would be severe, warned Treasury Secretary Bill Murphy. "We depend on alien markets for many resources." "Do we?" Morrison asked. "Or do they depend on us more than we realize?" He turned to Admiral Wright. "How quickly could we recall all diplomatic personnel?" 12 hours for most locations, 48 hours for the furthest outposts. Morrison looked around the table. Every face showed the same mix of fear and determination. They all knew the EUA risks, but they also knew that the current situation could not continue. "Gentlemen, ladies," Morrison said slowly, "I am authorizing the silent protocol. As of now, Earth is withdrawing from all galactic diplomatic relations. Within hours, The orders went out on encrypted channels. Every human embassy, trade mission, and military liaison received the same message. Pack everything. Come home immediately. Do not explain why to any alien officials. Ambassador Kate Miller got the message while she slept in her quarters on Nexus Prime. She read it twice to make sure she understood. Then she smiled for the first time in months. By morning, the human embassy was empty except for a single note on the door. Diplomatic relations suspended indefinitely. The galaxy was about to learn what it meant to live without humans. Council Chairman Thixtel entered the emergency session with confident steps. His crystal body sparkled under the bright lights of the council chamber. The other representatives filled their seats quickly. News of the human withdrawal had spread through Nexus Prime within hours. Order, Thixtel announced. His voice echoed through the chamber like breaking glass. We gathered to address the human tantrum that occurred yesterday. Minister Qualmoth of the Delaney floated in his water tank, near the front row. His tentacles moved in slow patterns that showed amusement. Chairman, surely this is temporary. Humans are emotional creatures. They will return when hunger forces them to be reasonable. Several aliens made clicking sounds to show agreement. The Zephyrian representative buzzed his wings together. Hive Mind Delta 7 agrees. Human behavior follows predictable patterns. Economic pressure will bring them back within 7 solar cycles. Thixtel nodded. The Vorthak Collective has analyzed this situation. Humans lack the patience for long-term isolation. Their need for resources will overcome their pride. The emergency session lasted only 2 hours. The council voted to redistribute human trade contracts among existing members. They increased patrol schedules to cover areas where human ships once operated. Every problem seemed to have a simple solution. This crisis will pass quickly, Thixtel announced. The galaxy will function better without human interference. 3 weeks later, the first problems began appearing. Engineer Prime Zixander of the Mechanical Guild stood in the control room of Communication Relay Station Gamma 7. Red warning lights flashed across dozens of screens. The quantum communication array had stopped working during the night shift. Status. Report, Zixander demanded. Technician Vextol checked his instruments. The relay matrix is unstable. Signal degradation exceeds acceptable parameters by 40%. Zixander examined the control panels. The human technicians who maintained this station had left suddenly 2 weeks ago. They took their personal items, but left no instructions about the complex systems they operated. Run a full diagnostic, Zixander ordered. The diagnostic took 6 hours. When it finished, Vextol looked confused. Sir, the hardware appears functional, but the software shows errors in 17 different subsystems. Zixander studied the error reports. The problems made no sense. Each subsystem worked properly by itself, but they would not coordinate with each other. The humans had written connecting programs that seemed simple but contained thousands of tiny adjustments. Can we repair the software? Zixander asked. Unknown, sir. The human programmers used methods we do not understand. Their code looks basic but functions in complex ways. Similar problems appeared at relay stations throughout the galaxy. Communication between star systems became slow and unreliable. Messages that once arrived in minutes now took hours or days. Trade Captain Nexithal of the Delaney faced his own difficulties. His cargo ship, the Deep Current, had just completed a routine supply run to the Outer Rim colonies. The journey should have taken 18 days. Instead, it took 46 days. Navigation officer, explain our delays. Nexithal commanded. Officer, Kethmal floated nervously in his small tank. Captain, the hyperspace calculations are more difficult than expected. Without human navigation algorithms, we must use older methods. Nexithal had not realized how much his crew depended on human improvements to galactic navigation. Human mathematicians had developed shortcuts that made hyperspace travel faster and more efficient. The calculations looked simple in the final form, but required complex thinking to create. How much longer for future voyages? Nexithal asked. Approximately 2 to 3 times the previous duration, Captain. The news was bad for business. Longer trips meant higher fuel costs and fewer cargo runs per year. Nexithal's profit margins disappeared almost overnight. Other Delaney captains reported similar problems. Trade routes that had operated smoothly for decades now faced constant delays. Some captains got lost completely and had to call for rescue ships. Dr. Meltex of the Vorthak Science Consortium discovered an even worse problem. The stolen quantum communication technology refused to work properly. The formulas appeared correct, but the actual devices produced only static and error messages. Research Assistant Plexton, have you identified the malfunction? Dr. Meltax asked. Plexton consulted his datapad. Doctor, the hardware matches human specifications exactly. However, we are missing crucial calibration algorithms. Dr. Meltax examined the stolen research files again. Everything seemed complete. The humans had documented their work carefully, but something important was missing. Perhaps the humans stored additional data separately, Plexton suggested. Begin a comprehensive search of all human research facilities, Dr. Meltex ordered. Find the missing components. The search teams found empty laboratories. Human scientists had taken their personal research notes when they left. The computers contained only basic information that was already in the stolen files. Dr. Meltax realized that Dr. Lisa Chen had been smarter than expected. The human scientist had kept the most important parts of her work separate from the main files. Without those missing pieces, the quantum communicator was useless. Meanwhile, Minister Qualmoth received disturbing reports from Delaney Space. 3. Trade fleets had disappeared in the past 2 weeks. These were routes that had been safe for centuries. Security Chief Belthon, what happened to our missing ships? Qualmoth asked. Belthon's tentacles showed signs of stress. Minister, pirate activity has increased dramatically in sectors previously patrolled by human vessels. Our ships are being attacked in areas we considered secure. Qualmoth had not thought about human patrol ships. They operated quietly in the background, preventing piracy and maintaining order. With the humans gone, criminal organizations had grown bold. Increase our own patrols, Qualmoth ordered. Minister, our ships are designed for trade, not combat. We lack the firepower and speed needed to chase pirates effectively. The insurance companies quickly noticed the increased danger. Shipping rates tripled within a month. Many smaller trade companies could not afford the higher costs and went out of business. General Korthvar of the Alterian Military Command faced questions from his superiors. The Kethmori Horde, a notorious pirate fleet, had successfully raided 6 installations in the past month. Before the human withdrawal, such attacks were rare and quickly stopped. General, explain these security failures, demanded Defense Minister Yaxthal Korthvar displayed tactical maps on the main screen. The Kethmori use hit-and-run tactics that our forces find difficult to counter. They strike quickly and disappear before we can respond. How did we handle such attacks previously? Korthvar paused before answering. Human tactical advisors provided analysis and rapid response coordination. Their methods were effective against unconventional enemies. Can we replicate their methods? We are studying human military manuals, but their approach differs significantly from our doctrine. Humans emphasize speed and adaptability over traditional command structures. Alterian military tradition valued careful planning and overwhelming force. Human tactics seemed chaotic and unpredictable by comparison, but the results spoke for themselves. Human methods had kept the peace for decades. The Vorthak Industrial Consortium reported production problems at their main manufacturing facilities. Output had dropped by 37% despite having the same equipment and workers. Factory manager Quixtel reviewed the efficiency reports with growing concern. Supervisor Hicksman, identify the cause of our decreased productivity. Hicksman projected data charts onto the wall. Manager, our production algorithms were optimized by human consultants. Without their constant adjustments, efficiency has declined steadily. The human improvements had seemed minor at the time. Small changes to timing, resource allocation, and workflow management. But those tiny adjustments had created significant efficiency gains that were now lost. Can we restore the previous optimization levels? Quixtel asked. Unknown, Manager. The human consultants made hundreds of small modifications. We did not document all their changes because they appeared insignificant. Similar problems appeared at Vorthak facilities throughout the galaxy. What had seemed like simple improvements revealed hidden complexity that other species had not understood. Chairman Thixtel called another emergency session as reports of problems flooded in from every member species. The confident mood from 3 weeks earlier had disappeared. Representatives spoke in worried tones about communication failures, trade delays, and security threats. Honored Chairman, Minister Qualmoth said, the Delaney suggest we consider reopening communication with Earth. Several representatives made sounds of disagreement. The Zephyrian delegate buzzed angrily. Hive mind Delta 7 refuses to show weakness. Humans must return on our terms. What if they do not return? Asked Dr. Meltax. Our research projects have stopped. Manufacturing efficiency continues declining. Communication networks fail daily. Thixtel maintained his rigid posture, but doubt crept into his voice. The Vorthak Collective believes these problems are temporary. We will develop solutions without human assistance. But privately, Thixtel worried. Each day brought new reports of systems failing and problems growing worse. The humans had been involved in every aspect of galactic civilization. Their sudden absence created gaps that Engineer Prime Zixander stood in the main control room of the Galactic Communication Center on Nexus Prime. 17 screens around him flashed red warning signals. The communication network that connected thousands of worlds was failing piece by piece. Status report, Zixander demanded. Technician Vextall moved between control panels with growing panic. Sir, we have lost contact with all stations in the Outer Rim. The core world connections are operating at only 40% capacity. Zixander studied the network diagram on the main screen. Red dots marked failed relay stations throughout the galaxy. The pattern was clear. Every station maintained by human technicians had gone offline within the past week. Can we restart the failed stations remotely? Zixander asked. Negative, sir. The human-designed systems require manual calibration. Our repair teams cannot access the control algorithms. 3 months had passed since the humans disappeared. What started as minor communication delays had become a complete network collapse. Worlds that once talked daily now waited weeks for simple messages. On the planet Vorthak Prime, Dr. Meltax faced his own crisis. The quantum communication project had consumed millions of credits and produced nothing but failure. The stolen human research looked complete, but refused to work. Research. Team leader Quix9, what is our current status? Dr. Meltax asked. Quix9's crystal body dimmed with embarrassment. Doctor, we have built 17 prototype devices. All of them produce only static and error codes. Dr. Meltax examined the latest test results. The hardware matched human specifications exactly. The software contained every formula from the stolen files. But something crucial was missing. The humans must have hidden part of their research, Dr. Meltax concluded. Continue searching for the missing data. Doctor, we have examined every human facility in Vorthak space. The laboratories are empty. Computer systems contain only basic information. Dr. Meltax realized the truth. Dr. Lisa Chen had been far more clever than anyone suspected. She had anticipated theft and prepared for it. The most important parts of her research existed only in her memory and private notes. The Vorthak Science Consortium faced financial disaster. Investors had expected revolutionary communication technology. Instead, they received expensive failures and broken promises. In the distant Gamma sector, the Kethmori horde prepared for their boldest attack yet. Warlord Krextal studied star charts in his command ship. Without human patrols, entire regions of space lay undefended. Navigation officer, plot a course for the Delaney mining stations in System Tau 7, Krextal ordered. Warlord, those facilities have been untouched for 2 centuries. Heavy defenses protect them. Krextal laughed. The defenses depend on rapid response from patrol fleets. Human ships provided that response. Now the stations stand alone. The Kethmori fleet consisted of 50 fast attack ships. They specialized in hit-and-run tactics that traditional military forces found difficult to counter. Human commanders had developed effective countermeasures, but those tactics died with human withdrawal. The attack began at dawn on Tau 7's primary moon. 18 mining installations dotted the surface, extracting rare crystals needed for starship engines. The facilities had operated safely for centuries under the protection of galactic peace. Keth Mori ships struck like lightning. They destroyed communication arrays first, preventing calls for help. Then they systematically attacked mining equipment and storage facilities. The local security forces were overwhelmed within hours. By the time Delani reinforcements arrived, the pirates had vanished with cargo worth billions of credits. The mining operations lay in ruins, their production halted for months. Minister Qualmoth received the news in his office on the Delaney homeworld. The attack on Tau 7 was only the latest in a series of successful raids. Pirate activity had increased by 800% since the human withdrawal. Security Chief Belthon, how many ships did we lose this month? Qualmoth asked. Belthon's tentacles moved in patterns of distress. Minister, 17 trade vessels and 4 patrol ships. The pirates attack with coordination we have never seen before. Where are our military forces? Spread too thin, Minister. We must protect hundreds of trade routes and thousands of facilities. Our ships are designed for commerce, not combat. Qualmoth studied shipping reports on his desk. Insurance costs had tripled again. Many trade companies could no longer afford to operate. The Delaney economy, built on galactic commerce, was collapsing. Contact the other species, Qualmoth ordered. Propose a joint military operation against the pirates, but coordination proved impossible. Without reliable communication networks, military planning took weeks instead of hours. Different species used incompatible command structures. What had once been seamless cooperation became chaotic confusion. The Alterian High Command faced similar problems. General Korthvar stood in the war room watching red markers spread across the galactic map. Each marker represented a successful pirate attack or security failure. Intelligence Officer Nexval, explain how the Keth Mori achieved such success, General Korthvar demanded. Nexval consulted her reports. General, they use human-developed tactics against us. Fast strikes, flexible planning, and immediate withdrawal before we can respond. We have studied human military manuals. Why cannot we counter their methods? The manuals describe techniques but not the thinking behind them. Human tactical philosophy emphasizes adaptation and improvisation. Our doctrine values discipline and hierarchy. General Korthvar had spent 40 years in military service. Alterian tradition taught that superior numbers and careful planning always won battles. Human approaches seemed chaotic and unpredictable, but the results were undeniable. Human methods had maintained galactic peace for decades. Without them, security was collapsing everywhere. On the Vorthak industrial world of Nexthul, factory manager Kyxtel watched production numbers fall again. Manufacturing efficiency had dropped to 60% of previous levels. The decline continued despite having the same workers and equipment. Production Supervisor Mixton, identify the cause of our continued losses, Kyxtel ordered. Mixton reviewed the factory data. Manager, human consultants optimized our systems through thousands of small adjustments. Without their ongoing modifications, efficiency decreases daily. The human improvements had seemed simple at the time. Minor changes to timing, resource flow, and quality control. But those changes had created a complex system that required constant attention. Can we restore the optimization? Kyxtel asked. We lack understanding of the underlying principles. Human methods integrated multiple variables in ways we did not document. Similar problems affected Vorthak industries throughout the galaxy. What had appeared to be basic consulting had actually been sophisticated engineering that other species could not replicate. Trade Captain Nexathol of the Delani completed another disastrous cargo run. The journey to the outer rim had taken 68 days instead of the usual 18. His fuel costs exceeded the value of his cargo. Navigation Officer Kethmol, can we improve our hyperspace calculations? Nexathol asked. Kethmal floated sadly in his small tank. Captain, we are using the best methods available. Human algorithms were far superior, but we cannot recreate them. How did humans develop such effective navigation? They approached hyperspace mathematics differently than other species. Their methods seemed simple but contained insights we do not understand. Nexiathol faced bankruptcy along with hundreds of other independent traders. The galactic economy depended on efficient shipping, but efficiency had died with human participation. Chairman Thixtel called another emergency council session. The chamber was half empty. Many representatives could not travel to Nexus Prime due to communication failures and transportation problems. Honored members, Thixtel began, we face temporary challenges that will resolve with time and effort. But his confidence had cracked. Private reports from every member species told the same story. Systems failing, economies collapsing, security deteriorating. The galaxy was falling apart without human involvement. Minister Qualmoth spoke from his water tank. Chairman, the Delani formally request immediate contact with Earth. Our losses exceed acceptable levels. The Zephyrian delegate buzzed weakly. Hive Mind Delta 7 agrees. The situation requires human expertise. Other representatives nodded. Agreement. Pride was becoming a luxury they could not afford. The council will consider all options, Thixtel announced. But privately, he knew the truth. They needed the humans back desperately. The question was whether Earth would listen after months of galactic chaos. The humans had proven their point, more effectively than any war or demonstration could have achieved. The galaxy was learning that human contributions had been far more important than anyone realized. Without them, civilization itself was crumbling. Chairman Thixtel stood alone in his private chamber on Nexus Prime. 6 months had passed since the humans disappeared. Through the tall windows, he could see empty docking bays that once buzzed with activity. Half the space station's sections had gone dark to save power. The latest reports covered his desk like a pile of disasters. Communication failures had isolated entire star systems. Trade had collapsed to levels not seen in centuries. Pirates controlled vast regions of space that had been peaceful for generations. Thixtel picked up the report from the Delaney homeworld. 3 days ago, the Kethmori horde had achieved the impossible. They had successfully raided Delaney Prime itself, striking the heart of one of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. The attack had been perfectly planned. Kethmori scouts had studied Delaney defense patterns for weeks. They identified the exact moment when patrol ships would be furthest from the capital. The pirates struck during a shift change, when communication between defense forces was at its weakest. 18 Kethmori ships had appeared in Delaney space without warning. They avoided the main defensive positions and targeted the orbital trade stations instead. Within 4 hours, they had destroyed or captured cargo worth trillions of credits. The Delani military response had been slow and confused. Without human tactical coordinators, their ships moved like ancient creatures trying to catch lightning. By the time they organized a proper counterattack, the pirates had vanished into hyperspace. Thixtel set down the report and picked up another. The Vorthak Industrial Consortium had declared bankruptcy yesterday. Their manufacturing efficiency had dropped below profitable levels. Without human optimization algorithms, their factories consumed more resources than they produced. Unemployment across Vorthak space had reached 40%. Millions of crystal beings faced poverty for the first time in their long lives. Social unrest grew daily as workers demanded answers their government could not provide. The chairman's communication console beeped softly. A priority message from Minister Qualmoth appeared on the screen. The Delaney official looked exhausted. His usual blue coloring had faded to pale gray. Chairman Thixtel, Qualmoth began, the Delani Council of Elders has voted. We are formally requesting immediate diplomatic contact with Earth. Thixtel expected this news, but still felt his crystal structure vibrate with stress. Minister, the Council has not authorized such contact. Chairman, my people are starving. Our trade networks have collapsed. Pirates attack our ships daily. We cannot wait for Council approval. The transmission ended abruptly. Within hours, similar messages arrived from other member species. The Alterian High Command demanded military cooperation with Earth. The Zephyrian Commerce Guild begged for human navigation algorithms. Even the proud Mechanical Guild admitted they needed human engineering expertise. Thixtel called an emergency council session, but less than half the representatives attended. Many could not reach Nexus Prime due to transportation failures. Others refused to leave their homeworlds during the crisis. Honored members, Thixtel announced to the sparse chamber, we face unprecedented challenges that require immediate action. The few aliens present looked defeated. General Korthvar of the Alterian military spoke first. Chairman, our forces cannot maintain galactic security without human tactical support. The Kethmori horde grows stronger daily. Dr. Meltax of the Vorthak Science Consortium nodded agreement. Our research programs have stopped completely. We cannot replicate human innovations despite having their equipment and data. Trade Captain Nexithol represented the Independent Shippers Alliance. Most commercial routes are no longer profitable. Shipping times have tripled, and insurance costs have increased by 800%. Thixtel listened to the catalog of failures. Every aspect of galactic civilization depended on human contributions more than anyone had realized. The species they had dismissed as junior partners had actually become the foundation that held everything together. What do you propose? Thixtel asked. Contact Earth immediately, General Korthvar said. Offer whatever terms necessary to restore cooperation. The humans will demand concessions, Dr. Meltax warned. They have proven their importance. They will not accept inferior treatment again. Better inferior treatment than complete collapse, Trade Captain Nexithol replied. My ships cannot operate under current conditions. Thixtel felt the weight of galactic civilization pressing down on his crystal shoulders. Pride had led them to this disaster. The Vorthak had ruled the galaxy for millennia, and now they faced humiliation by a species barely 40 years old. But survival mattered more than pride. The chairman authorized the first official communication attempt with Earth since the Silent Protocol began. The message transmission took 3 days due to communication network failures. When it finally reached Earth's diplomatic channels, the response came back within hours. President Morrison's words were brief and cold. The Galactic Council chose to demonstrate that they could function without human participation. We respect their decision and wish them success in their endeavors. Thixtel read the response with growing despair. The humans were not interested in negotiation. They had made their point and intended to maintain their isolation. Secret meetings began among desperate council members. Several species sent private messages to Earth offering individual deals. The Delani promised exclusive trade rights. The Alterians offered military alliance. The Vorthak even suggested sharing advanced technology. All requests received the same response. Earth maintained complete diplomatic silence. Meanwhile, the galaxy continued its downward spiral. The Outer Rim colonies declared independence from their home governments. Without reliable communication or supply lines, they had no choice but to become self-sufficient. Pirate fleets carved up former trade routes like territorial animals. The Kethmori horde controlled 12 star systems. Other criminal organizations filled the power vacuum left by failing governments. On Nexus Prime, Engineer Prime Zixander made a desperate decision. He sent a small team to human space with a simple message. They carried white flags and emergency beacons, hoping to convince Earth that their mission was peaceful. The human border patrol intercepted the ship before it reached Earth's outer system. The aliens received a recorded message that played automatically. You are entering human space without authorization. Diplomatic relations are suspended indefinitely. You have 6 hours to leave this system or face detention. The alien ship turned around and returned to Nexus Prime with no contact beyond the warning message. Earth had built an impenetrable wall of silence around its territory. Thixtel realized that traditional diplomacy would not work. The humans had grown tired of alien condescension and broken promises. They wanted more than apologies. They wanted proof that the galaxy truly understood their value. But how could the Council prove something they were only beginning to understand themselves? For centuries, Alien species had assumed they were superior to humans in every way. Now, they discovered that human innovation, efficiency, and problem-solving had become essential to galactic civilization. The truth was painful but undeniable. Without humans, the galaxy was falling apart. Communication networks failed daily. Trade routes became unprofitable. Security collapsed as pirates grew bold. Manufacturing efficiency plummeted across all worlds. Even worse, the problems accelerated, as systems designed by humans broke down without proper maintenance. Each failure created new complications that alien expertise could not solve. Thixtel sat in his empty chamber and faced the hardest decision of his long life. The Vorthak had ruled the galaxy through strength and ancient wisdom. But strength meant nothing when civilization itself was crumbling. He began composing a message that would shock every alien government. The proud chairman of the Galactic Council was ready to offer humans what they had always deserved: full equality, fair representation, and genuine respect. The question was whether Earth would accept, or if they had already decided that the galaxy was not worth saving. 1 year had passed since the humans vanished from galactic civilization. Chairman Thixtel walked through the empty corridors of Nexus Prime. Most of the space station had been abandoned. Power failures kept entire sections dark and cold. The once mighty Galactic Council now met in a small conference room instead of the Grand Chamber. Only 8 representatives remained. The others had returned to their homeworlds to deal with local crises that grew worse each day. Thixtel entered the meeting room, where the survivors gathered around a simple table. Their faces showed defeat and desperation. The proud leaders of galactic civilization had become beggars hoping for salvation. Minister Qualmoth floated in a portable water tank. His people faced starvation as trade networks collapsed completely. The Delaney economy had shrunk by 80%. Millions of aquatic beings struggled to find food and basic supplies. Chairman, Qualmoth said weakly, the Delaney colonies are declaring independence daily. We have lost contact with half our worlds. General Korthvar of the Alterian military sat hunched in his chair. The proud warrior looked decades older than a year ago. The Kethmori Horde now controls 37 star systems. They have formed their own government and demand recognition. Dr. Mel Tax of the Vorthak Science Consortium spoke next. Our research facilities have closed. Without human innovations, we cannot compete with pre-war technology levels. The reports continued around the table. Every species told the same story: economic collapse, social unrest, technological failure, and military defeat. The galaxy was returning to primitive conditions not seen for centuries. We must try again to contact Earth, Qualmoth insisted. Offer them anything they want. We have tried 17 times, Thixtel replied. The humans ignore all communication attempts. Then, we surrender unconditionally, General Korthvar said. Admit complete defeat and beg for mercy. Thixtel had already considered this option. The problem was reaching Earth with a surrender offer. Human space remained completely closed to alien ships. Any vessel approaching their territory received the same automated warning and 6-hour departure deadline. Dr. Meltak studied data on his portable tablet. Perhaps we can understand why humans reject our offers. What have they gained from isolation? The question haunted Thixtel for months. Intelligence reports from the edges of human space suggested something remarkable was happening inside Earth's territory. Human colonies were not collapsing like alien worlds. Instead, they seemed to be thriving. Begin full analysis of human space activity, Thixtel ordered. Use all remaining surveillance resources. The investigation took 3 weeks and revealed shocking results. Human colonies had become completely self-sufficient within months of leaving the Council. Without alien interference, human innovation had exploded into new technologies and economic growth. Earth's population enjoyed unprecedented prosperity. Resources once exported to alien worlds now stayed home to benefit human citizens. Technologies, previously shared with ungrateful aliens, now created wealth for human societies. Human military forces had modernized rapidly, without the burden of protecting alien trade routes. Their ships incorporated new designs that surveillance experts called revolutionary advances in efficiency and firepower. Most surprising was human expansion. Without council restrictions, humans had colonized 47 new worlds in the past year. Their population and territory had grown faster than any species in galactic history. They do not need us, Dr. Meltox concluded after reviewing the data. We needed them, but they have proven they can prosper alone. The revelation devastated what remained of alien confidence. For a year, council members had assumed humans would eventually return due to economic necessity. Instead, humans had built a better civilization without alien participation. Thixtel made a desperate decision. He would travel to human space personally and request an audience with President Morrison. The chairman of the Galactic Council would humble himself before the species he had once dismissed. The journey to Earth took 6 weeks using the failing transportation networks. Thixtel traveled in a small diplomatic ship with minimal crew. He carried surrender documents signed by every remaining council member. Human patrol ships intercepted the vessel at the edge of Earth's solar system. The response was swift and professional. Unidentified alien vessel, you are in violation of human territorial boundaries. State your business and prepare for inspection. This is Chairman Thixtel of the Galactic Council, he transmitted. I request audience with President Morrison on matters of galactic importance. The human ships escorted Thixtel to a space station orbiting Earth's moon. He was allowed to enter under heavy guard. The station was clean, efficient, and obviously new. Human engineering had advanced significantly during their isolation. President Morrison met Thixtel in a simple conference room. The human leader looked healthy and confident. Behind him stood Admiral Wright and other officials who showed no fear or desperation. Chairman Thixtel, Morrison said calmly, what brings you to human space after a year of silence? Thixtel set the surrender documents on the table. President Morrison, the Galactic Council formally requests the restoration of diplomatic relations. We offer full human representation, equal voting rights, and fair compensation for past treatment. Morrison examined the documents without enthusiasm. These are generous terms, Chairman. What has changed your perspective on human value? The question cut deeply. Thixtel forced himself to speak the painful truth. Without human participation, galactic civilization is collapsing. We were wrong about your importance to our society. You were wrong about many things, Morrison replied. You believed humans were primitive and expendable. You stole our technology and dismissed our contributions. You treated human lives as statistically insignificant. We acknowledge our errors, Thixtel said. The galaxy has learned the value of human innovation and cooperation. Morrison stood and walked to the window overlooking Earth. The planet below glowed with prosperity and peace. Chairman, you misunderstand the situation. The galaxy had its chance to treat humans as equals. That opportunity has passed. President Morrison, please reconsider. Billions of beings face starvation and chaos without human assistance. Those same beings celebrated when humans were excluded from trade routes. They laughed when human colonies were denied aid. They stole human research and called our lives worthless. Thixtel felt his crystal structure crack with stress. What do you want from us? Morrison returned to his seat. Nothing, Chairman. Humanity has moved beyond the need for galactic approval or cooperation. We have built a better society without alien interference. But the galaxy is dying without you. The galaxy made its choice when it decided humans were unnecessary. We respect that decision and will not interfere with its consequences. Thixtel realized the horrible truth. Earth was not negotiating because they had already won. Humans had proven they could thrive independently while alien civilization crumbled. They had no reason to return to a relationship that had only brought exploitation and disrespect. The offer remains open, Morrison said, standing to end the meeting. When the galaxy truly understands the value of equality and mutual respect, we might consider limited cooperation, but those days are far in the future. Thixtel left Earth with empty hands and a broken spirit. The journey back to Nexus Prime took 2 months due to continued infrastructure failures. When he arrived, half the remaining council members had abandoned their posts. The galaxy continued its slow collapse without human expertise. Some species adapted and survived at reduced levels. Others faced extinction as their societies fell apart. Criminal organizations filled the power vacuum left by failing governments. Meanwhile, humanity prospered in isolation. Their colonies grew stronger and more numerous. Their technology advanced beyond anything seen in galactic history. Their population enjoyed peace and prosperity that alien worlds could only remember. Earth's response to decades of condescension and exploitation was simple and devastating. They had removed themselves from the equation and let results speak for their true value. The galaxy learned too late that human innovation, efficiency, and problem-solving had become the foundation of modern civilization. The empty chair in the council chambers remained as a monument to alien arrogance and its consequences.